and welcome to The Zest, the official podcast for Orange Coast Magazine. Today's guest owns a boutique in Laguna Beach, and her designs have been worn by celebrities, including Jennifer Lopez, Kourtney Kardashian, and Lucy Hale. Thank you so much for being here today, Lisa Maree.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So you're originally from Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in a little town called Yellow Rock, about 2 hours west of Sydney. The closest thing to civilization that we had was a fire truck and a post box.
Oh my gosh. So small.
A very little town, yes.
Oh, it sounds really cute though.
I think it's cute when you get older. When you're a child and you're looking for fun and something to do, it's not that exciting.
Right. What were you like as a kid?
I want to say I was good and a little nerdy, but good, but always a little devious. I was naughty, but I looked like I was like a really good kid. So I would get away with everything because no one ever suspected me of it.
I love that. And you said, I remember speaking with you before, your dad was an entrepreneur.
That's right. My dad is a serial entrepreneur. Nothing crazy, nothing really he didn't really excel at anything in particular, but he tried everything. Like he was a picture framer. He sold fireplaces. He produced moldings. He had a health product company. So I saw all of these different iterations while I was growing up.
Wow. Do you feel like that influenced you to eventually what you did?
I think so. And I think it was more like his lifestyle because he worked from home and he was flexible in his lifestyle and he didn't have to go and sit behind a desk and work a job for someone else, a 9 to 5. And I really think that appealed to me.
Yeah. But then being your own boss, I feel like it comes with its own challenges.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you don't see that from the outside, but when you start your own business, you definitely learn that very quickly.
Right. And you were a former model too, obviously.
I was when I was younger. So a long time ago now, but I think I grew to love fashion through that. Yeah, it was an interesting job. And I call it now being a glorified clothes horse because basically you just stood there and people changed you while you had your arms up. But I really got to love and understand fashion. And it was basically my business was born from that.
Wow. How are you discovered or did you search it out?
I think, I was really young. I think I was 13 or 14.
Oh.
Yeah, someone gave me a business card and said you should come in, and my mum took me into a modeling agency when I was quite young.
Oh, that's so cool. Were you commuting from your town to Sydney?
I was. So it was 2 hours, and so we would commute in or wherever there was a casting. And then when I was around 17, close to 18, I moved out of home and closer to the city.
Wow. How long did you model for?
Until I was in my mid-20s, I want to say.
Oh, wow.
I started my company and then sort of that overtook everything else I was doing.
Dang. And then so you went to the University of Western Sydney and studied graphic design.
I did.
Why did you choose that major?
Okay, so it's a funny evolution. I can almost give you a story of how.
Yeah, let's do it.
I started and how I ended up here. I always loved being creative. I was always designing. And even when I was a child, my mom was actually a sewer. So I would sketch something and I would have her sew it for me, or I'd buy something and have her alter it. And so we were always doing things like that together. I know I had her make all my formal dresses and I designed them from scratch, and we went and chose the fabric and everything like that. But as I got older, I chose graphic design. I was early acceptance into college based on my work on my portfolio, and I thought I was going to be a graphic designer because I loved the design. I loved the computer side of it, and I studied for 4 years and came out with my certificate and couldn't get a job for the life of me. So I volunteered my time. No one wanted to take me on because they would have to spend resources training me. And it was really, really difficult for me. So I got to a stage where I was like, I spent 4 years studying for this and now I have this piece of paper and I can't do anything with it. What am I going to do? So being from very humble beginnings, and I lived a humble childhood in a little humble town, and I didn't have a lot behind me to start anything. So I searched out at the time a government funded small business course. It was called the NICE scheme. And basically you go in and you do, I think, a 3-month intensive course on business admin and management. And at the end, you present your business idea to a panel of 3 businessmen. And if they like it, they give you $10,000 to start your business in little like dribs and drabs. They give it. And so I did that and I won and I got the money. And then I started an online store. So it was basically funny enough. I was importing clothing from America, shipping it to Australia and then selling it on my website in Australia locally. And that was going really well. And just for fun, I decided to design my own swimsuits at the time. And I thought, I'll put them on the website, see how they go. And so I put them on the website and they started selling so well that I was thinking, oh my God, I think I can do something with this. And I ended up searching out a publicist in Sydney. And I went in with a box of 10 swimsuits at the time. I remember I had like a shoebox, I think it was. And I had 10 swimsuits and I went in my little young self and I said, I have these. Can we do something with this? And she looked at them and she looked at me and we chatted and she said, I think we can do something with this. And at the time I went, she basically organized it and put me in what's called a group show at Fashion Week in Sydney. And so that's kind of like for emerging designers, it's more cost effective. You all share the models. So like it makes sense if you don't have a big budget. Uh-huh. And I did that. And then there was an agent from New York in the show, in the audience at the show. Wow. And she came to speak to me after the show and she's like, I love your stuff. I want to take you to America. And at the time I was like, oh God, is this like a scam? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
And then I thought, well, what could I lose? And so I continued talks with her. And then she had put me in Miami Swim Fashion Week because at the time I was only swim based. And we did our show there a few months later. And then next thing I know, I was picked up by Net-a-Porter, which was the world's leading luxury e-commerce site at the time. And then Shopbop and then Urban Outfitters and then Nordstrom and then Revolve and all of these stores. And so it was such it was a snowball effect, you know, it was so crazy. And I think, gosh, it wasn't even a year later. I said, that's it. I have to move to America. That's where my customers are. And I'd made that decision in about 2 weeks. I'd packed up my house, everything over, found a rental property that I could move into, found an office and landed myself over here.
Oh my gosh. How did it feel to land Net-a-Porter? Like it seems like everything happened so quickly for you.
It did in the start. It was so quick. And I don't know. I guess I didn't understand the weight of it at the time because I was also Australian and all these stores were new to me and I didn't know how amazing it all was. And I was caught up with actually running the business and, you know, making sure everything happened. But now that I look back on it, I'm proud of myself.
Yeah, that's incredible. The bathing suits that you mentioned. So were these the crochet bathing suits that you have now as well?
That's right. Yeah, that's what I started out with. And it's obviously evolved from there. But yeah, absolutely. They're the suits that I started selling to all of these stores.
Oh my God. How'd you come up with the design?
I would just sketch, you know, honestly, I would just sketch different things and then have them made up. And then I had this, I have it somewhere, I'm sure, my first book, an art book full of all these different sketches of bathing suits. And I'd send them to a sample maker and they'd make a sample and then we'd develop it from there. But it was all just like from here. And
can you talk a little bit about how those are made? Because I think it's so interesting.
Yeah, the crochet bathing suits now, it's kind of a dying art. It's all made by hand. And so everyone knows their grandma knitted or crocheted. And that's exactly how it's done. And so at the moment, it's very difficult to find manufacturers who can do this because it is all handwork. Every piece is like a work of art. And it takes around 20 to 24 hours. I want to say when you look at it, well, the more simple bikinis, maybe 16 hours, but up to a day of work to make one bathing suit by hand. So they're very unique. They're pieces of art and it's very difficult to find skilled workers who can, you know, create these pieces.
Yeah. How many do you make in a year?
Well, it depends how big our orders are, but
okay.
we usually, the way the wholesale business works anyway, is it's actually more economical than the retail sort of side direct to consumer business, because on the wholesale side, and I don't know if many people know this, but we actually sell. So right now we're selling next year's spring and summer. In the middle of winter, we collect all of our orders from our stores, and then we look at them, we, condense them, and then we send all of those orders off to our factory. So we actually make the amount of stock for the orders that we get, which saves us having a lot of excess inventory sitting around. And I know now that we have our store in Laguna, we obviously make a little bit more to cover the store, but it's generally based on what our wholesale orders are. And then we tap on extra units to cover our online store and our physical store.
Got it. How many retailers are you at now? Or I don't know if retailers is the right word.
Oh, yeah. I don't know off the top of my head, but I do know we're in 13 countries across the globe.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't know the exact number, but I think it's on our stock list on our website. But there's definitely a multitude of them there.
Wow. Congratulations. That's incredible. Yeah. So when did you expand from bathing suits to clothing?
That was a recent evolution.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's kind of like COVID prompted so many changes within our business, because we've always been wholesale up until COVID. I was also always a wholesale business. And during COVID, we saw our retail stores close down, not place orders. And then we were kind of like in trouble a little bit, because everyone is saying, well, I'm not taking the stock. We are closed. There's no one buying it. There's no one coming into stores anymore. And we're at this point where either I had to evolve, make a decision and evolve, or like sit and stay stagnant and lose money. And so at that time, we started dabbling with direct to consumer. We were doing still swimsuits at that stage. We started dabbling with what are consumers buying the most. So it was a business decision based on data. The highest selling category across clothing and swim is dresses. Yeah, it makes sense though, logical sense, because everybody needs a dress for an event, a dress for this, a dress for that. People don't need a swimsuit for everyday use. So we weren't going on holidays anymore either in COVID. Everyone was staying at home. So it was a few things combined, but mainly that period we looked at all of the information that we were given, and we made some big decisions based on data, and we started the direct to consumer marketing, like Facebook ads, Google ads, that type of thing. We started evolving our collection into more ready to wear, like everyday wear, event wear, evening wear. And we opened the store in Laguna. Wow.
And you have a big like sustainability practice around everything that you create. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So that's based around the crochet specifically. So we definitely, that is a big important thing to us, and also protecting our workers. Our workers are grandmas. So they're like your grandma. They're in communities worldwide. And we actually allow all of our workers to crochet the garments in their homes in rural villages worldwide. And so they're like your grandma sitting at home knitting a piece of a swimsuit. And then what they do once they've finished their pieces, they ship them into the factory who pieces them together. But it's all done in a really sustainable way.
Amazing. And going back a little bit to the earlier days when you first started, what were some of the bigger challenges that you had to overcome?
Yeah, I think because we grew so quickly at the start, I wasn't, I made a lot of mistakes, and I think it's normal for anyone who's new to business and young, naive, I want to say. I was like, wow, we have all these orders. I have all this money now. I'm going to open this office. I'm going to hire this staff, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And it's a really big and harsh lesson that you shouldn't expand too quickly, because you think it's just going to keep coming, and sometimes it doesn't. And so I think I learned a lot of business lessons very quickly in terms of, being a little bit more humble and conservative in spending. that was definitely my biggest lesson. I think everyone has this feeling of, oh, wow, I have to have this big office and show how well I'm doing and hire all these people. And it's really not about that. I've learned over the years that's ego.
How did you fix that?
Well, I guess by pulling back on spending, I had an office here and an office there. And, I had an office in Istanbul in Turkey, and an office in LA. And then we had our showrooms and we had this and we had that. And it was great. And it was like, looked good on paper, but we didn't actually need all of that. So you just have to trim it back.
Yeah. And then in 2016, you started Glamazon. Can you talk about, well, how did you come up with that idea? And also for people who don't know, what is it?
Sure. So Glamazon was Australia's largest peer-to-peer platform for at-home beauty services. So basically, if I can put it in lay terms, like Uber for beauty services. You book a therapist on an app and they'd show up at your doorstep and do your makeup or your hair or your eyelashes or give you a massage or something like that. It was funny because I moved around the world a lot. And at that time, I had been in America for quite a bit and I was moving back to Sydney, and I had seen this concept in America, actually, of the peer-to-peer services. And so I went back to Australia and I noticed a gap in the market for it. And so I was like, Australia needs this. I'm going to do this. And I started basically an MVP, my minimum viable product. I had like a very basic version of the business going, and I went to a bunch of different investors and said like, hey, this is what I want to do. Do you see any, do you want to invest? And there was one investor that said to me, yes, I want to do something with this. I don't know what it is, but let me come back to you. And I was like, okay. And so I had this business running, a tech platform. Basically, it's a technology company, like double-sided app, website. We actually produced 4 apps over the years and a website for booking. And this investor at the time called me back and he said, look, I've done some research. There's a girl that I lived in Bondi in Australia at the time. There's a girl there that has this business called Glamazon. And my product at the time was called, not Glam Squad, Glam Crew. That's right. Glam Squad's the American. Glam Crew. So my very early business was called Glam Crew. And he said, I've met this girl. Her business is called Glamazon and she does salon bookings. And so it was a little bit different to what I was doing, but she had kind of a platform built out and mine was more manual at the time. And he said, I want you to meet her. And then if you guys merge, I'll invest. And so I was like, okay. So we met. Her name was Lauren. Her name is Lauren. She's a great friend of mine still.
Oh,
wow. We turned up to a meeting wearing exactly the same thing. We realized we lived like 2 streets away from each other, had all the same mutual friends, and it was just an instant click.
Oh my gosh.
So it was crazy how it all worked out. We ended up merging our business. We raised a couple of $1 million from investors in capital, and we scaled this thing really quickly. And we sold it to the world's leader, I think, in peer-to-peer services out of India, called Urban Company in 2019, I want to say. So that was like definitely a distraction to Lisa Maree. But I wouldn't change it for the world. I learned so much. I feel like I learned a whole other industry. I had so much fun, and I have a friend for life now.
Oh, and you guys were on Shark Tank, right?
We were. And that's another interesting story because there's a little kind of like backstory behind that. We both applied for Shark Tank in Australia for publicity before we met each other. So we'd both applied before we merged. We met, we merged our companies, and then later we'd got an email, both of us separately, from Shark Tank saying, hey, you guys are accepted. And so I had to tell her, and I was like, oh, this is kind of uncomfortable and I'm kind of embarrassed because, like I was thinking in my head, this is great publicity. I can grow this business if I get it in front of viewers, not necessarily for the money. And she was feeling the same way. And so we both were awkwardly like thinking about how we should tell the other. And we finally had the conversation and we were dying because like, how could this happen? It's the universe aligned happening, but it was so amazing. And then we said to each other, well, we've already raised all this capital. We don't need any money from Shark Tank, but let's do it for the publicity. And it was so nerve-wracking. It was
I bet
such a nerve-wracking experience, and probably the most nervous I've ever been in my life, because you have to learn your lines, and there's no notes, there's no cards. You have to know what you're going to say, and they make you walk out through all these lights, and the sharks are just sitting there, and they make you stand silent in front of the sharks for like 2 minutes, just staring at them with all the lights.
Oh my God.
The lights are so hot. You're like sweating. And I remember we were walking down to where you have to stand on the stage, and Lauren just grabbed someone's glass of water from the side and sculled it. Ooh, that's some random person's water. She's like, I have dry mouth. I have to drink it.
Oh my God.
We go out there and we stand there and we stare at them, and they stare at us, and it's all like intense. But we ended up getting a deal on Shark Tank, which was great. We got our business grew 400% overnight.
Oh my God.
Crazy. Our website actually crashed because we had all our techs working on it, and there were so many views, and our website crashed, which was horrible for us because someone got a review on the App Store like, why would the sharks invest in this business? Their website doesn't even work, or something like that. But we ended up, obviously getting the deal. And then later on, and not many people know this, that you don't have to actually follow through with the deal. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So when I tell people that, people are like, what? So we decided not to go ahead and sign the paperwork, and we were very happy with the publicity we got from that. And we moved on with our lives. And I don't know, it was a great experience. It was a great learning curve, and I don't get that nervous anymore after that.
I can't even imagine having to stare at them. That's so awkward.
So they make it awkward on purpose. Like, they make you nervous. There's no logical reason why you would have to stand there and stare at them.
No. Also, really cool move to turn down the deal afterwards.
I know, they were like, what? We were like, no, we got what we wanted. Thank you.
Yeah. That's so funny. So last year you opened up your first boutique in Laguna Beach. Mm-hmm. Why did you choose Laguna?
Well, I live in Laguna now. I'm here because I am getting married this year to a local man from Laguna. So that's how I ended up in Laguna. And honestly, I love it. It reminds me so much of Bondi. So my place where I lived in Australia was at Bondi Beach, and Laguna feels very similar to Bondi. It's kind of like eclectic and boho. I just really like that vibe. So here, the reason actually I opened the store was because my main office is in LA. Our showroom is in LA, and I used to live in LA, and so everything was up there, and I just didn't want to commute from Laguna up to LA every day. We still have our showroom and everything up there, but I thought, I'll open like a little office in Laguna Beach, and then I'll have like maybe 1 or 2 staff here, and I can go to there to work instead of driving to LA. And we'll still keep our showroom and all our wholesale stuff up there. And that idea evolved into, maybe we should like have a little storefront in the office down here. And then some days it can open as a store. Maybe on the weekends it can open as a store, and the weekdays I'll use it as an office. And that evolved into, it's a retail store.
Yeah, right.
So I do have a desk in there that I go in, but usually it's pretty busy with the girls working and customers coming in. So it's definitely an evolution of what it was originally going to be, but I absolutely love it. It's like my happy place.
Oh, and it's such a cute storefront too. Like the building's like pink, and I love it.
People are like, where is your store? I'm like, the big pink building? They're like, yes, that's it. Yeah.
And it's so nice. It's like right across from the beach.
Yeah, I really like that because when I first looked at it, I was like, this is the perfect office. It's opposite the beach. If I want to go out and I have a little dog, she comes with me everywhere. And I'm like, there's a little park right next door. And so just aesthetically, it just felt really pleasing to me. And I felt like I could be really creative in that space. I really just love it down there.
What can listeners expect when they come into your boutique?
So it's I almost want to say we try to treat everyone like their family. When they walk in, you'll be greeted and you'll be asked if you want some water or a champagne or something like that. We want people to feel good and happy when they come in. So anything we can do to create that atmosphere, we do. And then when you do come in, the most exciting part of it, and this is what I love about it most, is we have a sample sale rack. And from speaking to people, I don't think people understand what that really is. And so when I'm in there, I'll talk to customers and they'll be like, oh, I've been in here before, but I never knew that. So basically with our sample sale rack, we produce 4 collections a year for our wholesale stores. That's the Urban Outfitters and the Free Peoples and that sort of thing. To produce those collections, we create a sample of everything. Like this, for example, that I'm wearing is a sample right now. So it's a one-off piece. We only make one of them. We show that to stores and they may decide to order that or they may not. But every quarter we have all these new samples that we've shown to stores that we don't particularly do anything with. So all of those samples now go to the Laguna store and they're available pretty cheaply for what they are. And we sell them off and they are one-off pieces that you can't get anywhere else.
That's so cool. What are some of the pieces that you have right now on there?
We have some really cute, I think we have some summer pieces because it's funny the way things work, like I mentioned,
right,
with the wholesale side of things. So we probably have summer in winter and winter in summer. But we have some great dresses in there. We have some great 2-piece sets. I just put some out the other day actually, and we're about to drop in a whole bunch more of stock. So that sample sale rack pretty much has new stuff every week. And then once quarter we have like a whole bunch of new stuff. So it's really popular, we find, with the locals down there. Everyone likes to find something special that they can, and when I tell them it's one off, they're even more excited about it.
Yeah. Can you talk a bit about your spring line?
Yes, I'm so excited about the spring line. We actually just shot that in Australia.
Wow.
Yeah, funny of all things. We usually shoot everything in America, but my sales team here said, "Oh, we met this girl at a trade show. She's amazing. She does all of these creative shoots," and they introduced me to her, and she's Australian. I'm like, "Oh, okay." So we sent all of our samples to Australia. We shot it in Byron Bay. It's just beautiful when the photos are released. It's definitely an evolution of what we've shot before. The background is beautiful. The model is beautiful. And the clothes are very ombre based. So there's orange, blue ombre, and there's a pink and green ombre. And we're doing a lot of dresses, jumpsuits. There's some really beautiful resort pants and resort open coat caftans with really light chiffon fabric coming in, and some really big bold prints. So we haven't done prints before. Now, this is a sample, obviously. We'd always done solid colors. And so this new collection has some really beautiful prints and some really beautiful ombre colors in it.
Wow. How do you come up with new designs? And also what made you want to just start doing prints?
I think you grow as a person, and over the years you sort of get a little bored maybe if you keep the same thing over and over. So it's just something different for me. I always, wherever I go, where it be here or overseas, I always look at what people are wearing, and I'm always looking for inspiration and how people wear things and certain silhouettes and cuts. And so it just got to a point where I was like, I like what these guys are doing. And I look at other fashion brands and what they're doing and what's selling. And so I incorporate a bit of all of that. It used to be years ago, gosh, when I first started out, it used to be I would make everything that I liked personally. And I quickly learned that not everyone likes what I like. So you would see my favorite piece in the collection wouldn't sell at all, and my least favorite piece would sell like crazy. And so, at first you get a little offended because you're an artist and you think, wow, this is my art and why don't people like it? But now I'm a business person. I've had a lot of experience and I'm like, okay, this is what people like. This is what I'm going to do. if a silhouette sells really well one season, we might use that same silhouette, put it in a different print, or we might do something similar to that silhouette. So we know that that's probably going to be a top seller for the next season. So that's kind of the way I think now. It's definitely more data-based than, this is what I'd love to wear, which is what I used to do.
And when does the spring line come out in these beautiful photos?
We're dropping into stores in, I believe, the 1st of April for the first collection, and then the 1st of May for the second. We've split the spring line into 2. So we have a little wait for that, but it's going to be worth the wait.
Exciting. Well, we're coming to the end of our time, but before I let you go, I have 3 final questions for you that we called the Thoughtful 3, and they kind of just reflect on your journey. Okay. So what has navigating the challenges in your career taught you about yourself?
Oh gosh, it's taught me a lot, but I learned that I'm not risk adverse. That's a big thing. I'm a big risk taker, which can be good and bad. But I think to be super successful, you have to be a risk taker, if I can even say it properly. So I think that's probably one of my big lessons. And my second big lesson is like going back to what I said before, is like, don't get ahead of yourself in terms of spending. Like, be conservative, and you don't have to have a big ego about what you're doing. You don't have to have a big office and a bunch of staff. That's not what business is about. It's absolutely not. So that was another big lesson for me.
Definitely. And then speaking of risk, how do you approach risk now versus how you did when you were first starting out?
I feel like I'm still the same person. I'm a risk taker through and through. It's just like, I've packed up and moved to 3 different countries within like a week or 2 of making a decision, not knowing anyone, not like having a place to stay. And so I definitely am still like that to this day. I think I'm a little bit more conservative now on the money side of things than I used to be. Which is a good thing, but I definitely still am a risk taker. And I think I mean, some people don't believe in this. I believe in intuition and manifestation. And so I fully put my heart and soul into things. And I believe that the universe is going to take care of that. And, you can't just obviously sit back and say, universe, give me this, and it pops up in front of you. You have to make moves towards that. And as long as you are driven and you're focused, you're going to make it happen.
Yeah. And it did happen for you. So manifestation works. And then lastly, what is one habit or routine that helped you become successful in your career?
Yeah. So my daily routine to this day, and this is throughout my whole life, I wake up first thing in the morning and I work out. I think that gives you structure for your day. It, creates endorphins. And that's one thing that I wouldn't ever miss, I think. And so I think routine and structure for everyone is a good thing. I don't think I just get up whenever. I'll just sort of sleep in. I'll do this. I'll do that. I think creating structure for yourself and finding that thing that really creates like energy and endorphins and that rush for you is a really good thing. And that definitely helps me in my day-to-day life.
Oh, I need to start doing that. That sounds like really helpful. Well, thank you.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask, I've been trying lately. Have you tried the cold plunge?
I've tried it once and I could do it for 30 seconds. It's so hard, but I want to start doing it more.
I was doing that religiously, and then I went on holidays. I went on a vacation and I came back and I got too scared to do it again. But that's one thing that I want to start this year doing again, because honestly, the rush that you get and the way you feel for the rest of the day, I mean, it's horrible when you do it, but afterwards it's great. So I think that I need to encompass that in my routine again. And that definitely is a real charger. That's great for the energy.
How long do you do it for, and what time in the morning?
I will do it for 4 minutes.
4 minutes? That's crazy.
4 minutes. I'm I don't like to be beaten. So I actually do it with a friend or my fiance, and we get in together, and then I will stay in longer than them just because I want to win. So yeah, I try to do it in the morning, which is also tough in the wintertime because you're cold and you don't want to but I do a sauna before. I'll do a sauna for 30 minutes and then I'll jump in the cold plunge for 4 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is. But yeah, it's definitely, oh, you can see my dog.
I know, he's so cute.
Waking up there. Yeah, that's, I think, something that would be helpful to everyone if you can stomach the cold, for sure.
Right. I know. I need to just get used to a cold shower and then move into the cold plunge. It's so cold.
The cold shower for me is worse than the cold plunge.
Really?
Yes. And I don't know if it's because it's little drops hitting you and you're I'd rather just get in and then get it out. I don't know. I feel like I'm running around in the shower from all these cold drops.
Man, well, I'm going to start incorporating that and become a successful businesswoman, but
I'll try it. Let me know how you go.
I will. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Of course.